going on, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena with Rob and Griff. I'm Griff Vincenic, joined by my co-host Rob Goldberger. And we're back this week once again, another video, and we're going to be talking a lot of NBA. It seems like that's just kind of been the theme recently, and obviously this week we had the NBA draft as well as some recent news with Kyrie Irving that we're going to touch on. Real quick, though, if you haven't already, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Weekly episodes talking everything in sports. It's a great channel. We put out a lot of great content. Check out some of our past interviews, our past videos. There's a lot of great content to watch. But with that being said, we're going to jump right in. And I guess I should really mention also the Colorado Avalanche did win the Stanley Cup Finals last night. So congratulations to them. Unfortunately, we are pretty much both hockey casuals, I think we could say. So not much to say, but I'll be honest, I enjoyed the NHL playoffs. I actually watch them more this year, partly because of the Rangers, but I mean, it really is NHL playoffs are truly a different breed, I think, and it's really fun to watch. So shout out to the Colorado Avalanche, but we're going to start with the NBA draft today. And it was an interesting draft. I mean, I feel like a lot of people knew what was kind of going to happen, but obviously the Sacramento Kings probably took it makes sense for their team needs, but just a pick where you're like, this just has kind of regret all over it. Obviously, the draft went Paolo Banchero at number one, which, I mean, Woj was tweeting out earlier in the day that it seemed like the draft would be a Jabari number one, but late in the day, I guess Paolo became the move, or the Magic did a good job of concealing that. And then Chet Holmgren, number two, Jabari Smith to the Rockets at three, Keegan Murray to the Kings at four, Jaden Ivey to the Pistons at five, and to be honest, the rest of the guys are not irrelevant, but it's really hard to talk about the rest of the draft almost, it seems. Not too many trades either. Obviously, the Sixers really made the only trade involving a major player. I guess we'll talk about the Knicks a little bit and what they did and kind of the disaster of that franchise. But the top order of the draft, Rob, let me start with this. First five guys, I mean, like this was probably the consensus top five players, the guys who would go numbers 1 through 5. What do you think? Who do you think, made the right pick? And who do you think maybe messed up with their selection?
Yeah, I think Paulo was definitely the right pick at one. I was sort of advocating for that on last week's podcast when it seemed like they were going to take Jabari. I mean, it seems like they're going to take Jabari. We know expected to go number one. We know that they didn't meet with Paulo. They didn't get Paulo's medicals or anything like that beforehand. Like, he never came to the Orlando Magic facility, but he was still, I mean, they still took him. I think he was the best player in this draft, not by a lot, but I think he's definitely a better player than Jabari. And I think his body of work in college definitely proved that. I mean, I think the thing about Jabari is that he does have the highest floor in this class. Like, I think at worst, Jabari is a good role player on a contending team because he's just a dude that brings so many valuable skills to the table, and he's, nearly 7 feet tall. So, I mean, look, I just can't believe that the Magic concealed that so well. It's crazy because these days we usually know who's going number one before they really go number one, when we see this on television. But 20 minutes before, I mean, I really wonder if it was a smokescreen or if they just changed their minds sort of, in the days before. But Chet at 2, I think we knew that was going to happen. I mean, a lot of people seem to dislike Chet for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but a lot of people, I will say one thing is, like, you see this comment where it's like, how is he going to guard Embiid or Giannis or, one of those other big guys? And it's like, how many guys are guarding them, though, at the end of the day? I think, I mean, I think that the top three run in the right order, to be honest. But like you said, Keegan Murray over Jaden Ivey. For me in the NBA, I don't really understand, like, drafting to positional needs unless it's like you have, Steph Curry on your team or something like that. But I just don't get it, man. I mean, I think Jaden Ivey was just, I thought, I said last week, I think he was even maybe a better prospect than Jabari. I think this is a dude who was seriously the best guard in college basketball last year by a long shot. And he's so dynamic. He can shoot the crap out of the ball. Like, I just don't get taking Keegan Murray over him. I get, he was dynamic last year. I get he was the Big Ten Player of the Year, but to me, I even liked Jalen Duren over Keegan Murray, to be honest with you. I thought, maybe, but I think Jalen Duren is a better defender. I think I just don't think Keegan Murray is going to be that good in the NBA. And I think he went to a place where careers, quite frankly, go to die. I mean, there are just so many talented prospects that you see headed out there. I mean, I'm happy that Tyrese Halliburton, who's going to be a great player in the NBA, was able to leave Sacramento, because this is just a team that destroys young players. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sacramento is at this. It honestly may be the worst franchise in the NBA. I mean, it's really embarrassing what they're doing.
Maybe. They are hard. They haven't made the playoffs in nearly 20 years.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just mind blowing that one of these years they can't do anything right. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Keegan Murray, he's a fine player. Who knows what he'll turn out to be. But yeah, Jaden Ivey, this hype over this kid really blew up. And obviously the New York Knicks, we're going to talk about them, but they've really pursued this guy. I mean, they thought they had him and they were doing whatever it took to try and get him, and they ultimately did not. Pistons, Detroit, I mean, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey is a dirty duo to have at the guard position, and good for them. I mean, they drafted Killian Hayes a few years ago, and he didn't really pan out, and good for them on moving on quick and not wasting their time and getting these two dynamic players. I think, Paolo, Chet, Jabari, it honestly was I think it's a pretty even group. I don't think there's one clear-cut number one guy out of the trio, I would say. But obviously, Paolo seems to be the guy who probably deserved to go number one. Chet, I mean, I think Chet, there's just so much slander, obviously, about his build and kind of how he looks. But, I'm not too concerned. If you look at Giannis year one and where Giannis is at now, like, these guys aren't – Chet Holmgren is not supposed to come into the NBA, this major center, huge big boy like Embiid, and be able to guard him on day one. That's just unrealistic.
NBA diet. He'll get on an NBA weightlifting program. Like, it's like, I give him time, and he's going to a place where he doesn't have to compete right away at all. I mean, he's going to go to a place where they're trying to lose, which, I mean, I think it does raise a very interesting question about OKC's development, because it's like, is having all these prospects just compete at once like a healthy environment, if that makes sense? Because their team is essentially, they have like one player over 30 and the rest are like 19 to 22 besides. And then you have a borderline top 20 player. No, he is a top 20 player in the NBA and SGA over there. And you wonder, how much longer does he want to do that? And I mean, it's a good question. I mean, does he match up with their timeline? He should. I mean, that's the guy that they should be building their project around realistically. But
I think that they're doing a good job. I mean, you look at their big three now that they've got SGA, Josh Giddey, and Chet. I mean, if Chet pans out, that's a very good trio to have. And I think
they're going to try to get big Victor Wembanyama next year. If you know who that is, there's going to be an all-time tank fest next year in the NBA. Let's just say that.
Well, I think the Thunder are doing a good job. And you look at Sam Presti. I mean, he's wheeling and dealing for these picks, and he made some other moves. I mean, they had what they have. They had the number 2 pick. Then they traded for Ousmane Dieng, and then they also took Jalen Williams, the Santa Clara Jalen Williams. So they got a lot of young players. And then they
got the other Jalen Williams as well.
They did. I honestly didn't even realize that. So they got a ton. I mean, they really added in this draft. And I think this team, obviously they're not there yet. I think they're going to start getting towards competing. I think that they've got a good group there. Houston, I mean, another team with, Jabari. You've got Jalen Green.
I like what Houston's doing a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a good group there. They got Ty Washington as well. I mean, this is a good team. I thought that, it just seems like the Kings, you see the thing they put up in the draft where the Kings, it's, one pick away from greatness. And then you've got this prospect like Jaden Ivey, who it just seems like he's going to be this dynamic, amazing superstar. It really just seems like that has happened again. And it's very unfortunate. I mean, some of this, obviously this is the Kings' fault, but, they've taken guys, number 2, Marvin Bagley. Obviously, they should have taken Luka Doncic, but Marvin Bagley looked like he was going to be, a great player out of college. And then obviously you got to fault the Kings for some of these developmental
I
issues,
mean,
but
you can't take Luka Doncic was the best. Like I said this at the time, so this isn't just
no,
original.
I agree. But like at the
Luka was,
time, Marvin Bagley, people were like, okay, he should be a solid player at least. And
yeah, Jesus
I
Christ.
don't know,
It's just a terrible organization.
awful. But all right, let's talk about the New York Knicks here because I mean I think that they honestly really weirdly stole some of the headlines away from this draft. I mean, they didn't select a player in the first round, which was obviously a little controversial. I think when they drafted Usman Dieng, my Nick fan friends were that didn't get it spoiled. We're not very happy that it appeared that they had taken another international player. The Knicks, I mean, I get they were trying to trade for Jaden Ivey, but this whole clear cap space for Jalen Brunson, I mean, it's a
little ridiculous.
this is why bad teams stay bad, if I'm being honest. I mean, I've never seen a team do so much to acquire I don't want to say mediocre because he's not mediocre, but not all-star caliber player. I don't think Jalen Brunson is an all-star. I mean, what are your thoughts on the whole thing? I mean, obviously, it seems like there's some fishy things too. I think that I was watching First Take the other day, and I think that Jalen Brunson's agent is like Leon Rose's son or something like that. Like it's
I mean, I can't really
very fishy.
I have to I can't really speak on this for reasons that I don't want to say, but like, yeah, there's some fishy things. Like, it's a lot of CAA stuff going on. A lot of their clients are CAA clients and like agents. But yeah,
a little fishy.
Yeah.
That's the end.
What's happening? And like Jalen Brunson, like where I am right now in Margate, New Jersey, like down the shore, like Jalen Brunson and Leon Rose are always together down here. Like, cause don't ask me how I know that, but it's just and like Jalen Brunson is always down here though, and like always with Leon, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point it's pretty clear that Jalen Brunson's going to be a New York Knick. I think I mean, you can point to whatever you want to point to. And I think that Mark Cuban will try and do his best to keep him. I think that there's a clear link at this point, though, for Jalen Brunson in New York. And man, it's really, I think this is I think it's a huge mistake for the Knicks because this is just, to me, what they've been doing. They're just wasting and spending their money on players who I just don't think are good enough to win them a championship. Even I don't even know if Jalen Brunson can bring this team back to playoffs. I mean, you look at what the Knicks have. They have RJ Barrett, and outside of that, I really don't see many building blocks. I mean, you got Obi Toppin. This guy really hasn't played because of Tom Thibodeau's system. Quickly, he's looked good at times. You've got Julius Randle, obviously, there, who was a disaster last year. I mean, you got the contracts of Evan Fournier there. I mean, you got Alec Burks, who didn't really have a great year. There's just all these guys.
He's a free agent. I mean, I think they're going to bring him back though, which would be a pretty big
Alec Burks. I thought he signed a 3-year deal.
No, wait. Oh yeah, you could be right. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure he signed like 3 for 30. Yeah, 3 for 30 last year.
Jesus Christ! What a terrible deal.
So you just have all these guys that are just overpaid, and Jalen Brunson's a good player. Jalen Brunson's going to get his money, no doubt, and he deserves it. He's a great guy, and he's a really a good NBA player. Is Jalen Brunson an all-star caliber player that really is what the Knicks need right now? Absolutely not. When you look at what the New York Knicks need, there's one player in the NBA who I think is the most perfect fit for the New York Knicks, and it's Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's a New York boy. He's always at Mets games. It's clear that there's a link to the Knicks. I think he might have grown up a Knicks fan. This guy wants to be in New York. It's pretty clear. As soon as he requests a trade, I mean, I think that is the guy the Knicks should be doing whatever it takes to get. I think that's the perfect fit. You want guys who are in New York, and let alone Donovan Mitchell is an all-star caliber player who is a superstar. Jalen Brunson.
I don't know if he's a super. I don't know if Donovan
Mitchell is a top 15, 20 player in the NBA. You said SGA is a top 20 player.
I would say that
Donovan Mitchell is better than.
No, I don't agree with that.
Donovan Mitchell is definitely better than SGA.
We'll see next year. We'll see next year when SGA is actually able to play games. Donovan
Mitchell
Mitchell
is
just
definitely better.
Donovan Mitchell is not an efficient. I just don't think he's an efficient player.
Donovan Mitchell has averaged 26 points the last 2 years.
I'm just not a Donovan Mitchell believer. I'm sorry to say.
How are you not a Donovan Mitchell? Like, what about him is not to
I
like?
just think he's one of those guys who I just think he's an inefficient shot chucker, to be honest. I think he's a great player, but like there are a lot of guys, a lot of young guys that I would take over him. Like if you're giving me him or Cade Cunningham to start my team, give me Cade Cunningham every day of the week.
I don't know. I haven't seen enough from Cade. Bro, we've seen Cade play what, one season?
And he was Cade is also 19 or 20, whatever he is.
Mm-hmm.
Donovan Mitchell, you have to remember, is like
25.
He's 25.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 25 before the next season starts.
Yeah, 25. Cade Cunningham is going to be 30 the next time, or 21 the next time the season starts also. So 19 is completely inaccurate.
Well, I said he was currently 19, and then I said he's maybe
He's
20.
not. He's 20. He's 20. Going to turn 21 in less than 100
Well,
days.
I think Cade Cunningham is 50 times the player Donovan Mitchell is, to be honest with you. I just don't think Donovan Mitchell is that good. I mean, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this.
It's okay, some would say they'd rather have Tobias Harris over Donovan Mitchell.
I don't
similar
agree
contracts, and it is what it is.
I don't agree with that, but I don't agree.
Donovan Mitchell, I think, is a very, very good NBA player.
I'm gonna name all the players that I think are better than Donovan Mitchell right now. All right. Give me.
It's so hard to just do that off the top of your head, though. You almost need a list.
Give me LeBron, give me Giannis, KD, Curry, Kyrie, Dame, Kawhi, Paul George. There's so many more guys. Oh my lord. Like I said, SGA, Anthony Davis.
SGA.
I think you're severely underrating us. Jimmy Butler. I think he'll be better next year. I think he'll be like a top 15 player minimum next year. You disagree with that?
SGA? Yeah, I disagree.
No, Cade, I said. Cade.
Oh, it was lagging. Cade, top 15, definitely not. Dude, top 15 is like, dude, that's a tough tier to reach. That's a serious. Maybe top 20, top 25, sure. But top 15, no way. That's gonna be, dude, top 15. You look at, like, I'm looking at the list right now. You got Giannis, KD, Jokic, Embiid, Curry, LeBron, Kawhi, Luka, Chris Paul. They've got Harden on here, but Cade might already be better than James Harden. John Morant, Tatum, Booker, Butler.
Stop that.
John Morant, Booker, Butler, Lillard, Kyrie. DeRozan is in. AD if he's healthy. Paul George, Trae Young, and that's 20. I don't know if Cade Cunningham can be better than 5 of those guys next year. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Nor is SGA better than like any of those guys.
I think I could agree with that, but I think you're underestimating how good SGA is for sure.
I don't know. We will see, I guess, next season. All right. Well, that does it for the NBA draft. I mean, it's not the most. It doesn't compare to quite to the NFL draft, and it definitely was a bit of a boring one compared to some years with the trades. But alas, we move on. I mean, the big news in the NBA recently has been Kyrie Irving, and it seems official at this point that he has requested, or it seems the phrasing I saw off a tweet recent, like an hour ago from when we're filming this, was that he's received permission to seek sign and trade options. So it seems like Kyrie Irving's time in Brooklyn will come to an end, which obviously then stems to whether KD's time in Brooklyn will come to an end, which would just be insane if all of a sudden Kevin Durant is starting to become traded. Brooklyn, obviously, it seems with Kyrie, I mean, there's not many options. It really seems like the Lakers are the team that Kyrie might want to go to, and the only team that really seriously wants him. I mean, there were teams on his list: the Knicks, the Sixers, the Clippers, the Mavericks, some other teams on there, but the interest from those teams doesn't really seem to be too high. Rob, let me ask you this. I mean, where do you see Kyrie Irving ending up? And ultimately, I mean, the Brooklyn Nets, it really seems like they're in a spot where, it seems like this team, had the potential to be something seriously great. And it seems like that dream might be over here.
Yeah, I mean, I think their organization is done because not only have they screwed themselves for the mere, like, they don't have any draft picks till 2028 is when they get their first round pick rights back. 2028.
Well, they'll get some. They'll get some back if they trade the
Sure, if they
Kyrie
trade
and
KD.
KD. Yeah.
True. But the Lakers don't have any picks to give them, to be fair.
I don't know if that's gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, the Nets are so screwed. It's so awesome to see. Ben is getting karma for everything, man. It's awesome. They're just
Sixers fans bash Ben Simmons. It's so like Ben Simmons gets so much hate from Sixers fans. It's pretty.
Are you
funny.
gonna sit here and defend Ben Simmons? Are you gonna sit here and defend Ben Simmons?
Ben Simmons was a top 5 player you've had in the last 15 years, probably.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Embiid, Drew Holiday was better than him when he was here. Andre Iguodala was better than him when he was here. Yeah, I would say Ben is right there, probably. Ben was a 3-time All-Star.
I get it was a bad.
I mean, he's just a playoff choker. He's a regular player.
I mean, I think there was a lot of. I think the Sixers screwed him a little bit because it was clear that he was not he wasn't what they needed him to be. I guess they needed him to be an elite number 2 scorer.
He never got better.
Yeah, well,
he never got better.
He might. Was Shaq? Did Shaq ever get a jumper? No. Like some of these guys just can't develop it.
Ben Simmons isn't Shaq. He took 3 shots over the course of a playoff series in the 4th quarter. Shaq won 3 Finals MVP.
Didn't James Harden had a similar statistic, I believe, for this year.
Did that in one game.
Yeah.
James Harden also had a better playoff game than Ben Simmons has ever had in his career, and James Harden was terrible in these playoffs. I would. Kyrie not drawing interest, says Woj. Outside of the Lakers, there are currently no known teams planning to pursue the sign and trades for Nets. So I think he might just end up staying, to be honest.
I don't think he would play, honestly. I think he would just not show up. And I think Brooklyn probably is scared of that and knows that. And I think that this is like the worst possible situation because their one potential trade partner has literally nothing to give up except Russell Westbrook, who they obviously don't want and who no one wants. I mean maybe there's
redirect him to a third team. Yeah.
They would have to, and then what do you even get for 1 year of Russell Westbrook? 2 seconds or something like that? Like
yeah, I mean, yeah, he's not a very good, very, very positive.
No one wants him. It's just a salary hit, and he's way past his prime.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
So what do you think? You think Kyrie will be? You think he'll stay in Brooklyn?
As of right now, no. I'll say no. Final. But I just think like this dude is like such a nut job. I can't tell what he's gonna do, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell whether he's just bullshitting everything. I have no idea.
Well, if he opts out, he's unrestricted, right?
Correct. But I think he's gonna.
But it's all about money, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
If Kyrie is willing to take a cheap deal, be a Laker. There's no doubt about it because they can sign him to the vets minimum or whatever and get him off that, and then just dump Westbrook somewhere. And that would be seriously if that happens with the Lakers, then this team seriously
max contract.
I understand that, but Rob, this is all hypothetical. Right, if that somehow happens, then the Lakers might actually have a bit of money to spend in free agency too on decent role players, which they currently obviously do not have with Russell Westbrook there. Kyrie took a very cheap deal. They might have a little bit of money to work with, which would be game changing.
Yeah, obviously, but that's just like Like
Well, it comes down to if Kyrie wants a massive contract or if Kyrie wants to win. If Kyrie wants, I don't know if Kyrie can get a massive 5
Kyrie
year
already
max
has a
at this point.
championship, to be fair. Like, I mean, I just don't like the whole reason he wants to leave though Brooklyn is because they're not offering him a max.
Well, is
It's the
LA
only
going to
reason he
have?
wants.
Can the Lakers even afford to offer him a max?
Yeah, if they got rid of Russ.
The whole thing is very insane. I mean, this is.
He'll probably end up
It's.
by the time the season starts.
You would imagine that Kyrie Irving is a Los Angeles Laker, which all of a sudden, I mean, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Obviously, there's some health worries, but if those three are healthy, I mean, I think they're back as a top 2-3 team in the Western Conference with that big three if they're healthy. Obviously,
Yeah, that's a huge caveat. I mean, assuming Kyrie doesn't lose it as well.
I mean, that big three though would be real if they're playing well and healthy.
Yeah, I agree.
It depends what they have around them, obviously, but that could be the best team in the Western Conference, the team to beat. I mean, really, that's Kyrie is what the Lakers need: a scorer and efficient shooter. I mean, that he's the perfect player for them, honestly. And if they can figure something out, I mean, wow, that would be insane. But it really seems like he might be a Los Angeles Laker, which is absolutely nuts to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then with Kevin Durant, I mean, I'll ask you this. I mean, it seems like then Kevin Durant would probably want to trade. What teams realistically could you even see being in play for Kevin Durant? It's really hard to imagine what exact teams would be.
I mean, Portland.
I don't think KD wants to go to Portland though.
I mean, they would be right there, Damon KD.
And Nurkic, and they traded for Jeremy Grant, right?
Yeah, correct.
So those four.
I mean, there are other teams, I guess. Imagine he went back to the baby Thunder.
Or the Dallas Mavericks.
That would be something. That would be something for sure. Luka
I think
and
Dallas.
KD, oh my God, they would walk.
I think the lag today, but I apologize for that. But I think that if Kyrie went to the Lakers and KD went to the Mavericks, I mean, the Western Conference would just be nuts. I mean, it would be just absolute. I mean, then the Lakers and Mavericks all of a sudden are elite contenders. You've got the Warriors going to try and run it back. You've got Clippers with Kawhi coming back. The Suns are still, who knows what they're going to be. But then, they're still in the mix. You've got, Jokic. He'll have hopefully MPJ Murray coming back. That West would be something out. The Pelicans, if Zion's back, could be in the mix. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I mean, I don't think I see KD to the Mavs happening, to be honest.
I don't know. The thing is, I don't see what team where KD would even end up. It's like it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, Boston would be a great fit, but obviously, Brooklyn will never trade with Boston again.
No, that KD will not. Also, like, what Brooklyn would never do that. That's just
that's what I said. Brooklyn will never trade with Boston again.
I mean, KD on Cleveland would be that's a move that
He'll never go to Cleveland. He'll never go to Cleveland.
I know, but we're just thinking a team. He's not going to go to Portland either. Why would he go to Portland?
I think it's clear he's one.
Well, I guess he did play for the Supersonics.
He did. I mean, the Wizards go back home. That's where he's from.
That team's just so bad, though. I don't think he'd want to. Maybe, but I really don't see a team for Kevin Durant that makes so much sense. It's very weird.
They don't have any money. I mean, for a player as good as that, for sure.
It is very weird. It's just that it's hard to picture a true team for Kevin Durant, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I just think, and this is a guy like Kyrie, other places they're just like, I don't want to trade X young player for KD. Like, people forget who KD is. Like, I get he had a rough playoff series, but number one, he had like maybe 3 competent teammates. Kyrie was not good outside of game 1 in that series at all. And he's being coached by an absolute, idiot, to be quite frank with you. I just don't, I think like teams who are just like, oh, I wouldn't trade Jaylen Brown for KD. Like, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say. Like, or Scotty Barnes, for example. Just a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is interesting. Like, let's bring up like the Cavs, for instance. Like Darius Garland's like a young superstar. Like, would you trade Darius? You would.
I think KD and Mobley could win a championship right now, to be honest, like next year, to be honest.
It's tough. It's really tough because KD is what, 33, 34, and he's a good player, obviously.
The thing is, you trade one championship for any amount. Like, I would trade one championship for 10 years of losing.
I don't think, but like with the Cavs, if we keep doing the Cavs example, like if you put KD and take off Darius Garland, and I mean, let's say they don't. Who else?
I feel like there's, yeah, maybe not Garland. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that there's these players for some of these teams that are the young building block. I think that they would have Mobley. I think you should trade in a heartbeat because I think you have Garland, KD, and Jared Allen. That team's ready to win a championship today. I think Mobley would be the one to give up. Obviously that's not happening, but hypothetical. Like, it's very interesting because I think there are some young not superstars, but young stars on teams where teams are hesitant to just trade them in general. Like, I think like Trae Young, like, is KD better? Absolutely. Would the Hawks trade Trae Young for KD? No. It's just one of those things, No,
I agree. I do agree. I agree.
Who knows what will happen? We'll be covering all of it when all of it goes down. NBA free agency's got to start soon, though, right? In a few weeks or so.
That's correct. That's like a week and a half.
Week and a half. So we'll probably end up doing
maybe less than that, actually. Hold on, let's see. All right, here we go. June 30th, 5 Eastern. 3 days.
Whoa.
Yeah.
For 3 days. I did not realize that at all.
Yeah, I knew it was soon. I knew I'd do that.
Okay. So I mean, expect we'll probably try and film something or do something either the day or once big stuff starts happening, we'll be trying to do as much as we can. So yeah, that should be very interesting, but that does it for the NBA coverage today. We're just going to end the episode today. We're going to talk a little bit of MLB, not too much, but we're entering the end of June here, almost July. So about a month till the trade deadline now. And, we've got a few more weeks till the All-Star break. MLB, I mean, it's kind of going by quick. Like it's really almost July. Like the season it's getting to the point where it's going to get intense and very important. I mean, I'll be honest. I've been really surprised with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they have not played too well. I mean, this team coming into the year, people thought this was going to be one of the greatest lineups of all time, and it seems like it has been a colossal kind of disappointment almost, and they really haven't panned out the way people have thought. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Dodgers, but also, whatever you want to talk about with the MLB, to be honest?
I mean, I think the Dodgers, like, they're still, a great team. But
obviously.
Like it's funny because it's sort of like the total opposite. Like Tony Gonsolin being one of the best pitchers. Like, I mean, obviously he's gotten very lucky. I mean, the advanced statistics obviously indicate he's gotten, lucky. But yeah, at the end of the day, this guy is 10-0 or whatever with a 1.5 ERA or something like that. But like the Dodgers, it's sort of the opposite. It's just funny because like you said, the lineup really hasn't been very good. Freddie Freeman, I don't think has sort of lived up to what.
Freddie Freeman's been great. It's just, it's a big contract, so the power hasn't been there either. It's kind of been weird.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm writing the Dodgers off by any means, though. I mean, all these guys, obviously, Max Muncy has been absolutely terrible this year. Absolutely. I mean, you're frozen for me, Griff. You all,
Yeah, there's been some freezing throughout this episode, unfortunately.
you're good. All right. You're good. I can see you now. But yeah, if one or all of these guys start to pick it up, especially like Freeman, like you mentioned, they'll be right back, competing, and they're already right there at the top of the NL. I mean, it's not like they dug themselves any type of hole or anything. So, yeah.
No, I think.
I mean, I can. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers have just been. They're still an amazing team, no doubt. They've got a great rotation. They're definitely banged up. I mean, Mookie's hurt. Kershaw's been hurt at times, so they're dealing with injuries. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting because there's been guys who aren't producing. Max Muncy, Justin Turner has been bad. Cody Bellinger, really, his career has fallen off the rails. There's all these guys that really have not been good, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I still think the Dodgers are, you arguably got to say the team to beat in the NL, but the NL, you got the Mets, you've got the Braves who are playing great baseball. The Padres have been good.
Yeah.
You've got the NL Central teams, to me, don't seem like serious threats.
Well, that's my hope, is that they're just so terrible and that the Phillies can keep pace with them. That's all we need. We need to keep pace with one of them. Or it's one of them or one of the NL West teams. I mean, that Bryce injury is just such a killer, man. It really does suck. Couldn't have come at a worse time. We have biggest series of the season this week. 3 games against the Braves.
If you get swept, yeah, I think the division would be lost at that point.
Well, it's not even the division. I don't care about the division. I need a wild card spot at this stage.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to the head-to-head, but also, I mean, the trade deadline is very important, I think, especially for both our favorite teams, the Phillies and the Mets. Like, both of our teams desperately need help in the bullpen, like desperately. Like the New York Mets have to add.
Andrew Benintendi is a Philly. Andrew Benintendi is absolutely a Philly.
That's why they want to add another outfielder.
Well, we need one.
I guess if Bryce goes down, they should just call and make that trade today.
Yeah, Bryce is just Blake Snell. I hate Blake Snell. Terrible.
Oh my God. I mean, the New York Yankees are still rolling. I mean, the Guardians. How about the Cleveland Guardians? They've been playing good baseball.
The Cleveland Guardians, Griffin?
Andres Jimenez. He's been a sneaky not superstar, sneaky all-star for them. It's been kind of crazy, the Guardians, but they just breed young pitching. Another one of those teams like the Rays that just always have good young pitching, and their lineups held their own. And that division is very interesting. I mean, I thought the White Sox were going to run away with it. The White Sox have been horrific, pretty embarrassing. Could be MLB's biggest disappointment, honestly, but Chicago White Sox or the Angels, I guess.
The Angels, absolutely. I mean, the Angels are just a disgrace to the sport, though. At the end of the day, they have the most marketable player in the sport by far, the best player in the sport.
They've arguably the 2 best players in the MLB.
That's disgraceful. They're just a disgraceful team, to be honest with you. Disgraceful organization. Jose Ramirez has 63 RBIs in 68 games. That's just absurd. And only one in his last, five or something.
Pete Alonso has 69 RBIs in how many other games?
Well, Pete Alonso is
Pete Alonso is a different breed.
No.
Well,
we'll see.
He's at 69 RBIs in 73 games. So yeah, but still pretty good, pretty darn good.
The NL East, besides the Nationals, really isn't that bad, to be honest. It's actually
the Marlins are just great. They're horrific.
I mean,
they have some pitching, but their team is just not good.
Well, I mean, they walked you off the other day, Griff.
Yeah, but I mean, we're gonna lose some games to the Marlins. It's gonna happen, especially when David Peterson's pitching. I didn't expect much.
Corey Knebel blew a save to them, to be fair.
The Marlins, you're going to lose games to them. They're a pesky team. They have pesky players. Like John Birdie is just as Keith Hernandez said, a little pesky like bitch. Yeah, outside Alcantara. I mean, they've got good young pitching. Alcantara, Lopez. Man, that Marcell Ozuna trade. I mean, that might be the worst trade ever. Even though Marcell Ozuna was good for the Cardinals, horrific. You gave up Sandy Alcantara and Zach Gallen.
Yeah, for a real stand-up guy in Marcell Ozuna.
Oh my! Like some of these trades, you just look. I imagine if the Cardinals had Alcantara, and Zach Gallen in their rotation.
Yeah. No.
with Miles Mikolas. I know Jack Flaherty's been Jack Flaherty just can't stay healthy, but
no, yeah, he's hurt again.
Yeah, he could be fried at this point. He might be over. His MLB career could just be downhill from here. Unfortunately.
Well, injury after injury after injury.
That he just clearly cannot stay healthy. Or he's smoking the DeGrom pack at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to really talk about MLB. We'll talk a little bit more as we get closer to the trade deadline, I'm sure. But I think with that will do it for this week's episode of Outside the Arena. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Check us out on Instagram at Outside the Arena Podcast, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts at Outside the Arena. We appreciate all the support. We'll make sure to keep up the content, especially with NBA free agency kicking underway very shortly. NFL, there's always news there. So we're getting closer to the NFL season. I'm about a month away from preseason too. So a lot of exciting stuff.
It's awesome.
A lot. Yeah, it really is. The sports world is always turning, and we'll be covering it every step of the way. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all on next week's episode of Outside the Arena.